So really our reps do a great job of getting out to their communities and talking with the PTAs. I was really fortunate to be invited to, as an example, I was invited to North Carolina at the end of March as they are working on starting a PTA SIG, which is a special interest group. They had one previously, and I think they had disbanded it at some point in time. They were looking to really get more robust involvement in that. So I was really excited about that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the PTA Plus podcast. I am Katie Sutton, your host. Today's guest is Alyssa Thompson. Alyssa is a physical therapist assistant, but she is also the PTA Council Steering Group Chair. And so today we talk a lot about the initiatives from the PTA Council, the direction that the PTA Council is really going and some of their goals with engagement. But also we talk about the structure of the PTA Council and how that fits within the American Physical Therapy Association. We also take it a step further and talk about the importance of you getting connected and into the network with your PTA Council rep, whether that is through your state or your chapter or your section and academy. So you're not going to want to miss today's episode. We're going to make sure that we get you super connected with the people that you need to be talking to in the APTA's PTA Council. And as always, thanks for listening. Hello, welcome back to PTA Plus Podcast. I'm Katie Sutton, your host, and we have a wonderful guest with us today, Alyssa Thompson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. You're going to share some exciting information with us today, or give some exciting updates anyways, is what I should say.
Yes, I'm really excited to talk about all the things that you have for us to talk about today.
Yeah, PTA Council. So you and I met through the PTA Council, essentially, or maybe it was through PTA education. It was one or the other, but I feel like we've known each other through these channels for quite some time. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. But then, of course, we became closer last year because we both worked on the council together. And then this year, you're the chair of the PTA Council.
Yes, I am very honored to have that position, and I've learned a lot and continue to learn a lot and love all the connections that I've made through that role and through being involved with APTA.
Yeah, that's a big role. Like there's a lot that goes into that. And I know just last year with you and I working on the council as members, or the steering group as members for the PTA Council, that was a lot of work. So I can't even imagine the chair role. You're probably on the phone with somebody at all waking hours of the day. So.
It's definitely a lot of work. I was really fortunate. Tracy Hards, who was the chair last year, she and I had quite a long conversation before I agreed to put my name into the running for chair about what that looked like regarding the time commitment and the activities. And she was amazing at really getting me prepped for this role and to be ready to handle the workload, because it is a lot of work, but it's all a lot of fun too, which is what makes it so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to Tracy. She led us last year as the first group in the PTA steering group that really had rolled off of the old PTA caucus. So those who are listening, if you have been around APTA for a while, you probably remember the PTA caucus has since changed to the council. And so really last year was kind of like, it was like ground zero. Like we had a lot of learning to do. We had a lot of building to do. It was very fast and furious. And we just kind of hung on and hung on for the ride, I guess. I mean, it was a little wild. So
that's an accurate description. Yes. But I think we did some amazing work last year setting the foundation, which is what's really helped myself and the steering group this year to continue to build off of that work.
Great. Well, before we dive into the nuts and bolts about that, because I really want you to kind of show the audience what this looks like, what the council looks like, how it's here to help PTAs and members of the APTA as well. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about who you are as a physical therapist assistant, of course, but you fill some of those plus roles as well. So
Yep. So I originally got my bachelor's degree in dance from the University of Iowa in 2004. Turns out dancers don't make a lot of money. I know, no surprise there, right?
Shocking,
So
huh?
I know everyone's surprised when I tell them that. So I went back to school, having always had a passion for anatomy and physiology. I actually had to take it as part of my dance curriculum. So I really just enjoyed it. It was fascinating to me. I really latched onto that material and was not really prepared to continue on with school at that point in time. Was very fortunate to find a PTA program, didn't know anything about PTA at all, read about it through some marketing, and I went, oh, great, this will be perfect for me at this point in my life. So I went back to school, graduated with my associates for PTA in 2011. And then I was a practicing clinician for 8 years in a hospital based outpatient clinic. So I was very, very privileged to see patients with orthopedic diagnoses, patients with neurological diagnoses. I got to work in a pool. I love aquatic therapy, super
Me
passionate
too.
about it.
Yeah,
So,
one of
oh,
my favorites.
it's so good. I could talk about that all day. So I was really fortunate to do that. Occasionally dabbled in a little bit of peds. That's definitely not my wheelhouse, but the peds therapist there had a lot of faith in me,
Also
seeing
me.
some of their older patients who were more ortho based. So got to do a little bit of everything, which was great. And then an opportunity came up in 2019 for me to move into education. So I was in PTA education for about 6 years and really also enjoyed that role too. That was a whole different world, as Katie, I know you know. It's really challenging, but in a really positive way. I had a lot of growth with that job for sure,
Mm.
and have now moved out of education. Just again, life circumstances taking me in a different direction. And I'm actually going back into outpatient orthopedic practice.
Wonderful. That's awesome. You kind of came full circle there.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I can relate to my love for aquatics. It was something that I had the opportunity to do, and I agree. I scream from the rooftops the benefits of it, and I think it's just a wonderful type of modality we can use with patients. And then also pediatrics, I did do that in some school-based pediatrics, and I was kind of like kicking and screaming to get in there. I was like, I don't know that I want to do this, but they needed somebody, and I filled a role. And I always say, I did good. I pride myself that I always provided good patient care, but it
I
was
have no doubt.
definitely an area that I was like, I'm sure there's somebody better to fill this role than me, you know?
That definitely takes a special kind of practitioner for sure. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, it was
happy we
tough,
have
but yeah.
those peds therapists out there who do an amazing job with those kiddos.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's got to be a love. So, yeah,
Mhm.
did it. I did enjoy it. I just always said I didn't know that I was good at it, but
I'm sure you were amazing.
yeah. Now you are still a dancer. You still
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I still use my dance degree. It wasn't for nothing. It's okay, mom. It's what you pay for still comes in handy. I am a professional dancer. I'm actually getting ready for a concert coming up at the end of this month. I dance with a company here. I'm based in Des Moines, Iowa, and I dance with a company here that's a modern, some people better know, contemporary dance company. It's an amazing company to work with, individuals kind of across the age spectrum, which is awesome. Just amazing human beings. And I'm really excited about that. And then I also teach at a local dance studio as well. So I still get to keep that love of dance going in my life in these other pockets outside of my regular full time job.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of connection and carryover between what you do as a dancer and what you do as a physical therapist assistant.
Absolutely. That, body awareness and maintaining a strong, healthy lifestyle, all of those things definitely overlap. And my teaching skills that I learned from teaching at the studio definitely carry over to patient education and helping patients understand things better and understanding movement as well.
Yeah, of course. Wonderful. Any other pluses you want to add to that?
Oh my gosh. Mom, wife, all the things,
All
avid
the
Hawkeye
things.
fan.
All the things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all the things.
when we were always on our call, I mean, I feel like we met last year at least once a week. between a subgroup or
Mhm.
a group that was working on a certain project or something like that. And it was always funny. We'd see like each other's kids run through, or
Yeah,
cat, dog, whatever.
right.
And I
The
think
baby.
our families just got used to being like, this is just normal now. So,
Probably, probably. I remember you were at a few sporting events and you'd call in and try to be listening and the crowd would be loud and yeah,
oh
all the
yeah,
things everybody does is
all the
these multiple
things.
roles because we know we're
Uh-huh.
not all just
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah, life. And I think that this is the value of the networking that we are afforded by being involved in these different types of activities and opportunities. I mean, I always say you build lifelong friendships through these types of
Mhm.
volunteer activities, and it really is so true. I mean, many of the people that I text and call on a regular basis are friends that I met through some kind of APTA or Ohio event or something like that. And I mean, they truly become part of your life. This home that I'm sitting in right now, I remember having a meeting, a PTA council meeting, as it was being renovated. And it
It
did
was
not
being
have
renovated.
drywall. So at the time, it just had studs.
Yes,
So yeah, it's
I
kind of
remember
nice
that.
to, yep. I was just saying, I was quite, I think I was a little depressed about it at that point in time, but
I
it's
think it was going slower than you had hoped. I think that's where you were
oof,
at.
renovation. It's a big one. But
Mhm.
anyways, let's speaking of big topics, let's talk about the PTA Council as a whole. Like big picture here. Why is it important for PTAs across the US to understand what the PTA Council is?
The PTA Council is really, for those of you involved in APTA, is your representative body to the national level of APTA. So, Katie mentioned, you mentioned the caucus is before the restructure, which happened in, was initiated in 2021, but really fully operationalized in 2024, January 1st, 2024 is when the council was fully operationalized. We had the PTA caucus, which was focused a lot on governance, being helping to set APTA, provide feedback to set APTA policy through the House of Delegates. And if you're not 100% sure what the House of Delegates is, because I had no idea before I was in this role, APTA has a great description on their website about the House of Delegates and what that body does. After 2021, through a restructure, we added the sections and academies to the council. Previously, it was just our chapters that each had one representative. So there were 51 representatives when all seats were full, 50 from the states, and then DC as well.
I'm
With
going
the
to stop you right
restructure,
there. For
oh,
someone
yep.
who isn't familiar with the terminology, maybe somebody who's not an APT member, what does chapter mean to them?
Chap- Thank you. Chapter is what the state is called.
Okay,
So there's the Iowa chapter, there's the Ohio chapter, there's the Minnesota chapter, etc.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So prior to the restructure, it was just the chapters that had representation through the council. We were very, very fortunate with the restructure to add the sections and academies as well. So APTA has 18 sections and academies that represent different specialty areas of interest in research, in practice, leadership, multiple different areas of interest for anybody who's interested in a plethora of different things. You can be involved in one section, you can be involved in multiple sections. With the restructure, we added a representative, a PTA representative to council from each section and academy as well. So now I feel like we have a very holistic view of what it looks like within a PTA to be a PTA who's a member of a chapter. What are the unique challenges that Iowa has that maybe California doesn't, or
Mm,
how do those look different being a small state versus a large state, more urban, more rural, those kinds of things. And then the sections and academies too, what is going on in home health, what's going on with the leadership and innovation, what's going on in research, what's going on in sports, what's going on in orthopedics. We get information from those reps as well to help the council have this really holistic view. So when we're talking to ABTA, be it the board of directors, the House of Delegates, whomever we're interacting with, then we can come and say, this is what PTAs are saying in the states, the chapters, the sections, the academies. This is the feedback we're hearing. Here's the really amazing things that are happening. Here are our challenge points, and how can we continue to grow the association for overall the profession and for PTAs as well as PTs.
Great. So if each section has a rep, and I mean, how often is it that, I mean, is there vacancies? Does that happen where sections and academies don't have a rep?
The sections and academies, there are some who do not have reps. A lot of it because either there just are not a lot of PTAs involved,
Mm,
PTAs may not know about this position, and with it being a new role, the sections and academies are also still navigating what all of that looks like for them as well. Some of them have really amazing, strong reps, and some of them just haven't filled that role yet. Like I said, maybe because they don't know how to fill the role. They don't have any PTAs who are interested in that role. PTAs don't know about that role. Lots of different ways that those may not be filled. So there are some vacancies on the council presently.
okay. Hint, hint for those
Right.
who are wanting to get involved a little bit. If there are vacancies, I'm sure that Alyssa would be happy to point you in the right direction.
I would
Um,
love to point you in the right direction.
yeah,
I'd
so
love to see a full council.
yes, definitely. Great. So, what would you say are the council's top priorities this year? And what does that look like from the council's perspective as far as like, where do you get the priorities? Where do you get those ideas for what the council should be doing?
So, with regards to getting the ideas for what the council's doing, it's really trying to find that we're the link between APTA National and our PTAs who are on the front lines doing the things. So, it's trying to create this symbiotic relationship where the PTAs are benefiting from the things APTA is doing, APTA is aware of what the PTAs need, and creating those cross communication channels. So that's our ultimate goal, is to make sure that PTAs are being heard, their needs are being met as much as possible through APTA, whether that be advocacy efforts, whether that be governance, policy, and procedures, whether that be community involvement. So lots of different opportunities there. And then as far as the priorities for the council, when we changed over, as I said before, the caucus was more heavily involved in governance, that policy
Mhm.
making, the policymaking part of APTA. When the council changed, we really shifted into more engagement. We still do the governance part. We have two amazing delegates who specifically represent PTAs at the House of Delegates. But then we also have this whole group who's really focused on engagement. How can we get PTAs connected with opportunities within APTA? We certainly love our PTAs who are members, and maybe that's all they want to do is they want to pay their membership, they want to get information from APTA, and that's all they want to do. But we know there's PTAs out there who want to do more. So they want to be, to your point, the plus part of the PTA plus. How do we get them connected with these opportunities? And that's really a lot of what we're looking at. And I know that was the platform that we on the steering group started to set last year, was how do we do this? How do we get these people connected? How do we inform our reps to go back to their chapter sections or academies and inform their PTAs, hey, we have these amazing opportunities for you. You're not interested in governance, which is, some of what the PTA Council does. Great. We have opportunities in advocacy. We have opportunities in community outreach. We have opportunities with research. There's a wide variety. So our goal as we continue to move into this more engagement piece is getting more PTAs engaged and involved in this within the APTA overall.
Yeah, definitely. Can PTAs in any point in their career get involved with the APTA, but specifically the PTA Council? Like, is this something that's open to all APTA members that are PTAs, of course?
Yes, that depends on how the bylaws are written in that particular chapter section or academy. But I know that we have some new reps who are very early on in their career. We have new reps who are in that mid to later career stage. So that's another thing I love about the council is we have this, again, broad representation of some people who are relatively new to the profession and some people who have been in the profession for a really long time. And it creates, to your point, Katie, these amazing connections of, oh, I didn't know XYZ things were happening. Oh, Nancy is doing these awesome things in oncology. Let me connect you with her because she can help you with those kinds of things. And she's been doing this for quite a while. So those connections are really amazing. And it just, like I said, depends on your particular chapter, section, or academy. I don't know of any restrictions off the top of my head in any chapter, section, or academy, but I'm not familiar with all the bylaws in every area.
Yeah, of course. Can any PTA show up to any of these meetings? Like, is there any opportunity for PTAs who maybe not are in the council, but still kind of want to like hear what's going on? Like, is there opportunity for them to attend certain events?
So the council meetings are close to just PTA council reps because we're conducting official APTA business. However, if it's something you're interested in learning more in, you can certainly reach out to the rep who's representing either your chapter, section, or academy. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to member engagement at apta.org. They're a great place to start as well. And then we do also have our social media channels as well, which Sanaz Holcomb, she's my co-chair for the PTA Council this year. She's doing an amazing job with all of our social media. That's a really, really great way to start to get connected and see what's happening and where things are happening. But if you're interested in learning more, reaching out to your local individual is a really great place to start. And if you don't know who that is, you can email memberengagement@apta.org and they can provide you with the contact information for that person.
Awesome. That's great. So, how would you describe the structure? Like, okay, so we've mentioned that the PTA Council is part of American Physical Therapy Association, and that you have the reps that represent each individual state or chapter, and then each individual academy. But like, where does that bubble fit into APTA's bubble?
The big bubble,
The
yes.
big bubble, yeah. Where's the little bubble go to the big bubble?
So the big bubble is obviously starts APTA National, and then we're underneath the member engagement groups. And there's four different categories within member engagement groups. I'm going to probably miss one, I'm sure. There's councils, which is the PTA Council and the Student Council. There's societies, there's networks, and then there's a fourth one they just added, and I apologize, I don't remember what that one is. So these are specialty subgroups specifically interested in either certain areas of practice, certain members, like for example, the Catherine Worthingham is a part of the subgroup of member engagement underneath a different umbrella than the council. We have the student council, which is structured in the same way the PTA council is interested in representing PT and PTA students to the national level. So we fall underneath a very, very big umbrella of member engagement. And when you look at the org chart on APTA.org, I believe it's available on there, you see as it cascades down, we're kind of in this bottom corner, but it's a really, really large group that falls underneath this umbrella.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I can't remember what the fourth one is either, Alyssa. I feel like this was APTA 101 and I forgot to remember. I don't remember what that one was, but
Collaborations, that's the
collaborations.
fourth
Okay.
one.
All right,
That's the
cool.
fourth one.
Yeah,
Yep. So
awesome.
it's councils, collaborations, networks, and societies. That's what it is.
You know what? That is a perfect segue. What
Great.
kind of events and collaborations um, that is the PTA Council involved in? Like, is there ways that they kind of stay involved with other activities or other events or outreach?
So many of our PTA reps do so many different things. I can't even tell you what they're all doing because they're all doing so many amazing things. They do, a lot of them will do outreach within their chapter, section, or academies. Sometimes they're doing something like producing a newsletter, keeping everybody updated as to what's happening in that chapter, section, or academy. Sometimes they're holding PT pub nights. Sometimes they're doing town halls and webinars about what's going on in that chapter, section, or academy. Some of our individuals are involved with the PT Moves Me program. If you're not familiar with that, it's a program that takes PTs and PTAs and trains them to be ambassadors within their community to go out to schools, junior highs, high schools, getting young students interested in the career of physical therapy, or those who might be interested but don't know where to start, kind of guiding them as to how you would get started in a career like this. A lot of our PTAs I know do advocacy, whether that be attending advocacy days within their chapter, attending our National Advocacy Day, which is coming up in July, writing letters to their congressional representatives, so many different areas. And really, our council reps, I know, do a lot in a lot of different areas to be involved within APTA and really advocating for PTAs and advocating for the profession.
And I think it's important for people to recognize that some of the things that you mentioned, you don't have to be part of the council to do. So like
Oh,
PT moves me, right? It's open to anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's within the PTA council. Um, so that's important. Advocacy, anybody can advocate, right? You don't even have to be a member of APTA to advocate. Our patients can advocate for themselves or for
yes.
different
Yes, it's
bills or
being a
legislative
council
action
rep, I know
that's
our council
coming.
reps tend to be involved in a lot of things, but thank you for that point, because you don't have to be a council rep to do any of those things. You don't have to be a council rep to be involved with the PT Foundation. If you're a PTA who is interested in research and you're going for a higher degree that involves research, you can be involved with the PT Foundation. You don't have to be part of the council. Katie, as you said, nobody has to be even a member to advocate for things with their representatives, and that's a super important thing that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the research thing's really interesting. There's at least one PTA that I know that is fairly heavily involved in research and has won some grants from the Foundation for Physical Therapy Research. And she was actually a podcast guest of mine a while back. And to me, it's again, it's those things that make us beyond a PTA. It's the things that we do in conjunction with our skills as a physical therapist assistant that I want to highlight, and I really want to, emphasize those things and empower PTAs to just get out there, get involved, and ask questions.
Absolutely, because I know there's so many PTAs who do so many different things, whether it be within the association or outside of the association. And I know you had a recent on your social media, you created a new commercial for yourself talking about how we're not just PTAs. And I love that, because you're absolutely right. We're not just PTAs, we're PTAs. We chose this profession. We love this profession. We love this job and this aspect. And there's so many of us who do so many things. I'm sure I'm not even scratching the tip of the iceberg with all the things we're talking about today. And I feel like we're talking about a lot.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I was telling you before we hopped on this call, I think I have one, two, three, four. I've had five, or I will have by the end of the day, five recordings today, all different PTs and PTAs that are doing, incredible things out in the field. So, we just have to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves and we keep a clear vision of what's in front of us and ask lots of questions. So, I always like to say I like to show up places where PTAs aren't normally at and pull up a seat and see what's going on. So
I can see you doing that.
yeah, I like to do that. So what ways does the council support PTAs who aren't involved at all? Because really you're representing from the PTA Council and then our two PTA delegates that we have within the council. That representation goes beyond ourself, right? So
Right.
that's something that I think that we all tried to take very serious when we were on the steering group and when we're working with our members within the House of Delegates, is that it's not just our voice that needs to be heard. So like, how would you say that that helps or supports PTAs that are not involved?
So really our reps do a great job of getting out to their communities and talking with the PTAs. I was really fortunate to be invited to, as an example, I was invited to North Carolina at the end of March as they are working on starting a PTA SIG, which is a special interest group. They had one previously, and I think they had disbanded it at some point in time. They were looking to really get more robust involvement in that. So I was really excited about that. So that's a way that like APTA is supporting PTAs, and I as the council chair took some information to them to tell them, kind of like we're talking about today, what's the council? How do we connect you with APTA National? What are we here to do? I know I was also invited to speak for a meeting with Illinois as well, with their PTAs about the PTA Council, giving them information about what these reps do. Our reps do an amazing job getting out in their communities, talking to people, whether it's, through networking with people they work with, or, oh, my coworker James knows this PTA Katie who's working in this setting and they're having these challenges, and then connecting those people. So the networking is huge. It's also providing resources to each other. Like, for example, a few years ago, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Iowa and South Dakota came through that they were going to implement a PTA differential. Well, the Iowa and South Dakota chapters got together and said, we're going to fight against this. And we did a lot of advocacy with them, and they ended up not implementing that differential, which was amazing. And they still haven't. I keep crossing my fingers because you never know when that's going to come back. But they still haven't implemented a differential at this time. And we provided resources to the other representatives to say, hey, if you guys are having problems with this in your chapters, this is what we did that was successful. Here's the letters we wrote. Here's the advocacy we did. Here is the business title of the individuals we contacted. Here was the discussion that was had. Here are the other stakeholders we got involved. And then sharing that information out. So really thinking, like you said, beyond ourselves, how can we continue to benefit PTs and the profession really overall? It's that networking, it's those connections. It's, oh, I know that I have some really good friends who work in pediatrics, and I keep hearing them talk about all of the insurance restrictions happening through Medicaid. Did you know APTA has resources about advocacy with these particular groups and getting them connected with those resources? So I keep coming back to connections because that's really what I think the strength of the council is the connections that are made. It's not only the friendships, lifelong friendships, as you said. I've got to give a shout out to my Midwest group because they know I love them, and I hope some of them listen to this at some point in time. And we have a text message chain we've had going for 3 years at this point, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, yeah. And then it's, I'm in Iowa, we're a rural state. So how can I reach out to those PTAs who are in rural areas? What are the challenges they have that maybe I don't have? And maybe that is, oh, I know Brandon, who sits on our Iowa delegation. He works at a rural hospital. He's having trouble finding PTAs for a job. Oh, I know some PTAs who might be interested in working there. Let me get you connected. So networking connections, always.
Absolutely. And for those who are not aware, there was a handful of people who know about this little mini trip that happened. But last year at House of Delegates, there was some flight issues. Let's put it that way. And some of us got in and some of us did not get in. Some of us got in, but our luggage did not. And that was me. And this wonderful human being here, Alyssa, was kind enough to jam me and a few other PTA council reps in her car. And you drove us to Target, and I got some essential items to get me through the night until my luggage arrived the very next day. But that's something we'll always remember. It was a great time.
That's a great trip. I mean, for not a very fun situation, but I'm glad I had my car because the House of Delegates last year was in Kansas City, which is only 3 hours from Des Moines. So I drove, of course. And I was really glad I was able to help you out. And that was a really fun trip. I had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I came back from Target with essentials that were not essential. Things that I was
you
like,
came back with a lot.
I think there might have been a dress I bought. There might have been a pair of shoes I bought or something like that. But, I had the support of all of you there with me, like supporting me. So I think, yeah, we had a good time with that. But yeah, so talk about the power of connection and networking. If you know people, you can have somebody take you to Target.
At like 8 o'clock at night or something. I can't remember what time it was.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the big things coming down the pipe for the PTA Council? Is there anything you're really excited about or fired up about?
I love the House of Delegates. I'm super excited. House of Delegates is in July 13th and 14th. We get to go back to Washington, D.C. this year. And I'm always super excited about that meeting, which sounds so nerdy of me for sure. But I love it. I love listening to the debate that happens. I love hearing about where our delegates want to see the profession go and the things that we're working on, but really love getting to see my friends. So I know, Katie, you're going to be there. I'm super jazzed about that and getting to see you again. And I won't have a car this time, but we could probably Uber to Target or something.
I might have a car. Maybe.
Oh, there we go. We can go to Target.
Yeah.
The PTA Council we have one in-person annual meeting. The rest of our meetings are virtual on Zoom. So we meet quarterly. as the council, and then more if needed. Our big annual meeting is at the House of Delegates. And so our meeting is actually on Friday, July 11th. And that's what the steering group has been working really hard on. Shout out to all of them as well. I'm very, very much very supported by the steering group. They're amazing individuals. We have 5 total, counting me, who are working on this meeting and getting this put together to give our reps an amazing experience. So that's our next big push. We did a town hall at CSM. If you had a chance to attend CSM and got to go to the town hall, hello, thanks for coming back. If you did not, definitely look into it next year, because I know that's something else we do as well, that the steering group plans and hosts. And then we have our annual meeting coming up in July. And those are our really 2 big events that we are working on every year, where we can think about, again, engagement. How do we get reps information to take out to their components, their chapters, their sections, their academies? What are they bringing to us? What are some of the wins they're having? What are the challenges they're having? With those wins, how can we shout those out? How can we celebrate those? How can we connect other people with resources who are maybe that's a challenge point for them and not a win yet? And with the challenges, how can we work together? Because we know APTA's slogan is better together. And I truly do believe we are better together. So that's what we're working on right now. The steering group has spent a lot of time working on planning this meeting. I know it's going to be great. It's going to be very interactive, which I love. I'm so excited about it. We're going to have some key speakers from APTA come in and talk to the council, which will be amazing. Like I said, interactive activities, that networking, sharing celebrations, and continuing to think about, how do we get more PTAs involved? How do we continue to grow the association? PTA involvement in the association and membership overall is really not very strong, and that's something we'd really like to change. So how do we continue to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want your voice heard, you have to get involved, and you got to pull a chair up to that table and start talking. And I can say from my experiences in all APTA and Ohio things, they want the PTA voice. Like,
Yes.
we want PTAs to be involved.
Yes.
I've jokingly said that I told you I like to show up places where PTAs aren't at, but I've never really been kicked out of anything either. So, like, they want involvement from PTA. So I just want to encourage people to get involved. And even though there isn't the chance for everybody to attend the council meetings per se, know who your council rep is. So if you're in the state of Iowa or Ohio, know who your council rep is and send them ideas, thoughts, concerns. And those things can be brought to the larger group of the PTA Council, or at least to your own chapter board or your section and academies board, so that they can start to think about those things. But if nobody shows up to talk about it, there's no problem, right?
Right. You don't hear
Yeah.
about something. And thank you for that point, Katie. That's a really important point. I think there is a misbelief that APTA does not want to hear from PTAs. I understand that's a long held belief, but I just can say personally that's never been my experience as being part of the council and the steering group. Now, I've come in at a really amazing time. We've had a lot of great momentum as PTAs, and I anticipate that's going to continue. But my experience has been from everybody who I've talked to, whether it be PTs, whether it be PTAs, whether it be our APTA president, whether it be the Speaker of the House, whomever I'm speaking with has really been very interested in what PTAs have to say and really want to know what's going on. So I do hope, if you take nothing else away from this podcast at all, is that's not been my personal experience. And I feel very fortunate to not have had that experience. And I know others out there have had that experience, but I hope that people recognize that I don't personally feel like that's the case. I have always felt very well respected. I've always felt heard with whatever concerns I'm coming to the table with. And I truly appreciate that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Just for those who are maybe unfamiliar with like how these events work. So I know you mentioned combined sections meeting and that you have a town hall there for the PTA Council. Anybody's welcome to come to the town hall. So like that would be something that people could be involved in if you're going to be at combined sections meeting. And the cool thing about the town hall is it's not just it's not just council stuff. Like you guys give updates on other things that are happening within the profession too. So it's a really great place, especially for PTA educators to go. And a lot of
Yes.
our PTA educators are not physical therapists. So, or PTAs, they might be physical therapists. So it's
Mhm.
a great place to kind of get connected and
Yes.
tied into. And it's really
Absolutely.
exciting when we go to these events and we meet other PTAs. We're kind of like, hey, you're a PTA too. Like, hey, we should,
Let's
exchange
be
names and
friends.
stuff. Yeah, because there is a very low attendance and turnout, and we really want to change that. We really want to spin this around a little bit and get more PTAs involved, and that's definitely something that's a passion of mine. Now, you also mentioned House of Delegates is in Washington, D.C. this year,
Yes.
which is
Mhm.
really cool. That's a great hub that many people can get to. So
Mhm.
some people can drive there, some people can fly in. But I would highly encourage the PTAs who are out there that might be in that vicinity. There is an advocacy day that you can sign up for. And so that would be something that you could participate in. And I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but that would be a really great event. I want to say it's Tuesday, July
Yes. 15th.
15th, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
it. Yep. Tuesday, July 15th.
Okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And
And oh,
anybody can
go
be involved.
go ahead.
I was just going to say anybody can be involved in that. You don't have to be attending House of Delegates. You don't have to be a delegate. You don't have to be a rep. You can be a member who's super passionate about advocacy. This
Mhm.
is actually my first year doing it. I've heard amazing things, and I'm really excited to be able to do it this year.
It's fun. You're gonna have a great time. I
I'm
mean, it
so
was a little nerve-wracking the first time I did it, but like now that I've done it once, I'm like, I got this. Yeah. So it's a cool experience. Anybody who's never done an in-person advocacy, I highly recommend it. There's a misconception that your government knows what physical therapy is. So there was a lot of education about just simply what physical therapy is, the
Mhm.
differences between a physical therapist and a physical therapist assistant. We can't assume that our representatives, our senators, our lawmakers, all of that, we can't assume that they know what physical therapy is. It's possible that they don't or that they've never had any experience to it. So
Mhm.
there is a piece of explanation that goes with that. So it's a really great opportunity if you ever get the chance to do it either nationally or in your own state. I would highly recommend it.
Mhm.
APTA is also having, which people can't really, you can attend in the gallery House of Delegates, but sometimes the gallery is super small. So it's not necessarily something that people would maybe come into just for that particular piece. But before House of Delegates, APTA is having this year the Future of Rehab Therapy Summit. So
Mhm.
that's going to be a really cool opportunity for people to come and hear all about innovation in rehab therapy. So this isn't just physical therapy. They're going to be talking about all kinds of other avenues that rehab professionals can take. And
Mhm.
we're just going to go ahead and drop it out there right now that PTA Plus is going to be there. So I'm hoping that if there's any PTAs out there, make sure that you track me down and talk to me because I want to get your ideas and thoughts and opinions and all the innovative things that are happening there at the Future of Rehab Therapy Summit coming up
Yeah.
in July at
Sounds
APTA.
exciting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Alyssa, this has been fun. If you could please close us out with a plus point, is there any wise words or advice or information that you want to leave with the audience today?
Well, we've hit on a lot of things, but I'm going to go back to your point of you know who your rep is because that's how you get connected. And if you don't ask, it's always a no. So, whatever you are being challenged with, whatever you are thinking of, maybe you have some really innovative ideas for APTA. If you don't ask, it's always a no. So, please reach out to your reps. If you don't know who they are, member engagement at apta.org, they can get you connected. APTA Engage is also another great place to look if you're interested in getting involved. There's lots of opportunities on there. And there's even more than I realized. Being in my chair role as the council chair, I've learned so much about all the things PTAs can be involved in. I didn't even know, and had a pretty high level of involvement for a while. So I'm continually learning as well. And just reach out, ask the questions, advocate for yourself, for your patients, for the profession. We would love to hear from you. If you're interested in learning more about the council, can certainly reach out to me or to Katie and she can get you connected with me and would love to talk to you more about the council and opportunities there too.
Absolutely. And we will make sure that all of that information is listed in the show notes. So Alyssa, with that, thank you again. It has been wonderful. I'm glad we had an update because it's been a while. I think the last update was when the caucus was rolling out before the council had actually rolled in. So I do appreciate the update. I think that this is important information. It's vital information. Again, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. And if you don't know who to ask, that can be a problem too. So I'm glad that we had the opportunity to make sure people know that they can, at the bare minimum, get a hold of you or get a hold of me, and I'll get them a hold of you, and then you can get them a hold of the rest, right? Do a
That'll
little
work too. And check out our social media channels as well. We're on X, Facebook, and Instagram. It's APTA PTAs, PTAs, PTAs plural. So that's another great way to get connected with things that are happening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
We'll yes, thank you for having me, Katie.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see you in July.
Yes, I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to PTA Plus, the podcast for PTAs by PTAs. Subscribe, follow us on social, and share the show. Elevate yourself. This show is for educational purposes only. No clinical decision-making should be made from its content. See you next time.